Live from our studios here at Joy 99.7 FM, also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, myjoyonline.com. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight. Tensions remain high as both NPP and NDC clash at the Eastern Regional Collation Center here in Accra over results from 4 disputed constituencies: Fantiakwa North, Akwetia, Suhum, and Insawama Dwejuri.
We know that we have won the elections. We are confident we have won the elections. And so any attempt to rig the elections will be resisted. In their own collated figures, they know they've lost. And now they are saying that they cannot find their pink sheets.
We are live at the Ghana Police Training School here at Tesano in Accra, where the EC appears to be making some headway when it comes to the coalition. Also, we will not misuse the majority we have in Parliament, but always consult the NPP. Words of President-elect John Mahama as he rejects Supreme Leader tag and promises to govern as a Democrat.
I've heard some people call me Supreme Leader. I'm not Supreme Leader. I'm going to continue to work the way I've always been as a Democrat, and we'll continue to with our colleagues who are in the NPP.
We have more as he assures how, despite expecting victory, he's overwhelmed by the scale of the win, plus his vow to commission investigations into election-related debt if the outgoing government fails to take action.
It is our intention to investigate, what led to the deaths of those people. And I hope that this government will start to investigate those incidents. But if that does not happen, we will do it as soon as we come into office.
Details as the European Union delegation congratulates Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman for her historic feat as Ghana's first female vice president.
Congratulations to you, sir. To the running mate as well, who will be the first female to hold this position of vice president, and we wanted to acknowledge this move as well.
Also tonight, blame the NPP's crushing defeat in the just ended elections on President Akufo-Addo. That's the verdict of the Asante-Akyem North MP, Appiah-Kubi. We'll get to hear from him. Plus, it's not the outcome we envisaged. The words of NPP vice presidential candidate Matthew Opoku-Prempeh on the party's defeat in Saturday's elections. We have details from a statement from him. And tonight, uncertainty hits Ghana's power sector as 7 generating plants shut down due to challenges from the West African gas pipeline, resulting in a reduction of 30% in its dependable capacity. I have all the details of that.
In business, government links record third quarter growth estimates to fiscal consolidation as it promises to sustain momentum.
And in sports, Ghana's Black Maidens opens the WAPCO Under-17 Girls Tournament with an emphatic 4-1 victory over Benin.
And much later in the bulletin, how a Ghanaian female medical doctor saved a passenger's life midair on a KLM Accra-bound flight from Amsterdam. I have all the details and more here on Newsnight. You want to join me with your thought, your comment is via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. You're listening to us on X Spaces on Facebook. You can hit us with a hashtag Newsnight. I am MFA Apau. Please do stay for details. Many thanks for your company. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. I'll take you to the Tesano Ghana Police Training School here in Accra, where the collation of the Eastern Regional, some disputed Eastern Regional results in some constituencies are being collated. But first, tonight, Ghanaians have to brace for heightened doomsday as 7 generating plants shut down due to challenges from the West Africa Gas Pipeline Company, WAPCO. While current power data available to Joy News shows the country is producing 30% below its dependable capacity, with these 7 plants adding zero power to the national grid. Well, this is coming about as a result of WAPCO reporting of an unusual debris that at one of their compressor stations, triggering some operational upsets at their Tema regulatory and metering station, resulting in the shutdown. Well, you may have been experiencing some power outages. You've been hitting social media and raising concerns about it. Well, the head of our energy desk, Samuel Kojo Brace, joins me in studio with what exactly we are learning when it comes to the situation. Kojo, what are the details?
You remember that WAPCO earlier communicated that they'll be doing some maintenance works on the pipelines from Ghana to Nigeria. Now, it is this work that they recently announced that they were the inspection of the 56 kilometer by 30 inch onshore pipeline section between Itoki and Badagry, part of the West African gas pipeline in Nigeria, is progressing steadily. But during the cleaning exercise, a larger than expected volume of liquids and debris was received at the Lagos Beach compressor station. This has triggered some operational upset at their thermoregulatory and metering station, requiring a temporary shutdown of for safety reasons and investigation. And they are expressing that they are sorry for what is happening. So it is because of this that the problem that we're experiencing has come about.
And we know that this shutdown has caused both ECG and GridCo to warn Ghanaians of the impending load shedding as a result of the situation with the West Africa gas pipeline. Well, you're still, let's delve into it. At least you have the two joint statements or the joint statement by ECG and GridCo. What exactly are they saying?
They are also referring to this WAPCO shutdown, and they're saying that it has caused a shortfall in power supply, requiring some limited load management in parts of the country. So probably yesterday you saw that in your community. This could be the reason. Now, according to a statement issued by WAPCO, and they are referencing what WAPCO issued, that the temporary shutdown of its thermoregulatory and metering station has necessitated some operational upset when some larger than expected liquids and debris were received at the Lagos Beach compressor station. GridCo and ECG are optimistic that WAPCO will soon resolve the challenge and restore gas supply. Once gas supply resumes, power supply will be restored to all affected customers. GridCo and ECG wish to apologize to all affected customers for the inconvenience caused. But as to when this work will be done...
I was going to ask when exactly power will be restored. At least they are not able to tell us.
We've tried to work our sources at WAPCO, for example, to understand what's happening there. But they have not given us concrete responses as to what is happening. So we cannot tell us as of now when this situation will end. We can only hope that it ends soon. But from the way it is, it could take us some time.
Well, that's interesting. And I know that you and your team are still monitoring the situation there. And as and when we get more, we'll bring that to you. But Isaac Kofieje of our research desk has a breakdown of the current power situation in terms of what we have and what we are working with as we speak.
Currently, if we look at the country's peak demand, it's around 3,788 megawatts. And if you look at the grid report we have so far, we are doing 2,659, which means we are 30% below the peak demand level. If you compare it to the dependable capacity, we are 44% below that. And in fact, if you look at the amount of energy that ECG and GridCo had to share at the moment, it's 1,129 megawatts of power. Let's also look at some power plants that are currently down. If you look at the NPP is down, it's producing at 0%, zero at the moment. Senate Power is 0. Siemens is also 0. If you look at TE66, the T31 is also 0. And then Amandi is 0. And then the last one is the Bridge Power, which is also 0. So 7 power plants are currently not producing. If you care to know which installation is keeping the country at the moment, then there's Akosombo, which is producing 780 megawatts. And then also we have the Car Power, which is also producing 433. So this is the situation at the moment, producing 30% below our peak demand.
I bet you've been trying to find out how long this will linger and when the situation will be resolved.
Absolutely.
Did you find anything? Did you find anything?
Well, it will be difficult because this is, fluctuating. We may have to study the data in a week's time to know the actual study.
That's my colleague Isaac Kofieje there giving us updates. But thankfully, we've been joined on the phone by the General Manager, Corporate Affairs at the West Africa Gas Pipeline Company, Dr. Isaac Ejedoku. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight, sir. So your statement points to some, you receiving some larger than expected liquids and debris at your Lagos Beach compressor station, for which reason you had to shut down your thermal regulatory and metering station. What exactly is the situation now? Have you been able to clear it? How long a time do you need for that to happen?
Well, thank you for having me on the line, and good evening to your cherished listeners. The way the pipeline is a complex thing, it's not just a simple pipeline. And so regulatory requirements requires that every 5 years we have to clean the pipeline. So this, if you're familiar with the West Africa gas pipeline, there are two aspects of it. There's the onshore bit, which is in Nigeria, which connects the Nigeria gas pipeline to our Lagos Beach compression station. And then from Lagos Beach, the pipeline goes offshore under the sea through Benin, Togo, and then eventually to Ghana. The cleaning exercise that we've started is actually in two phases. So the first phase is what we are doing on the onshore. Now, what has happened is that it's 5 years exactly since we cleaned that bit. So you never know what to expect. As gas flows through the pipeline, if the temperature changes, it can condense, you so can have condensate. And depending on where the gas is coming from, you can have some debris, etc. So we started cleaning the pipeline per the earlier press statement that I released. And while cleaning the onshore pipeline, yes, like the statement that we had, this was weeks back, a week back, we had more liquids in the pipeline and debris in the pipeline than we had. Now, cleaning the pipeline, we call the pipeline instrumentation gauge through the pipeline, and you've got gas pressure that pushes the gas through the pipeline. So you run it once, depending on the debris, you run it. Been running it about 4 times now just to clean it. In between the cleaning exercise, just to make sure that we have gas in the offshore section. In between the cleaning sections, we allow gas to flow at some regulatory pressure and volume into the offshore section, which fits Benin, Togo, and Ghana. Unfortunately, we had large volume, but the cleaning, when we are cleaning the pipeline, we actually close the outlet which comes to the offshore. So everything goes into Lagos Beach. And I don't know if you took notice last week or sometime, we had a temporary shutdown of the Lagos Beach because the amount of volume that was pushed out of the pipeline was more than I'd expected. But that was resolved. And so it just happened that, again, at Tema, we are running our normal operation. We finished the onshore cleaning in between Itoki and Lagos Beach compression. And so we started normal operation and flowing the gas. And that is when we had this automated system sort of picking up the debris, some debris in the pipeline at Tema. And so for safety reasons, you agree with me, given the nature of gas, safety is of paramount. So once the safety systems kick in, we have to do a temporary shutdown. We say temporary because it wasn't something that we had planned, but that has been the offset that has happened from what we have done on the onshore portion of the pipeline. So that is why this is. But as at now, what I can say is that the cleaning exercise at Tema has been completed. So we are in the process of just sure everything is aligned, and then we can start flowing some gas from Nigeria. But as I speak to you now, the cleaning exercise, that temporary cleaning exercise we had to do at Tema has been completed. And it takes time for the gas pressure to build in the pipeline before you can actually send it to the power station. So that is the stage at which we are now.
Okay, so we'll come to how much time really we need for that, for you to get that pressure to be able to start bringing out the gas. But I want to find out if it is a usual occurrence, what you found. There's larger than expected liquids and debris at the Lagos Beach compressor station. Is this the first time? Is it a usual occurrence?
No, like I said at the beginning, per regulatory requirements, we have to clean the pipeline every 5 years.
And this is the 5th year?
In 2020, we did a similar cleaning exercise. And so it's just about a 5-year regulatory mark that we have to do. So it's not something that is done every day. And so you actually start cleaning the pipeline. You can never know what is inside the pipeline. And this is done to ensure the integrity of the pipeline. That is why regulatory-wise, you have to clean the pipeline every 5 years. So this is, it's unusual for us also to have experienced such large volumes of liquid. But like I said, gas goes at a certain pressure. When the pressure drops, the gas, liquefies. And you can have all these condensates that can build up. So it's within a 5-year time. So you can imagine if these condensates are built up over 5 years. So that is why it's very, very important that every 5 years we run these instruments through the pipeline to clean it.
Okay. Thankfully, you say that you've been able to finish the cleaning as we speak. How much more time do we need to actually complete the entire process? You've mentioned that you need some time for you to get the pressure that you need, amongst others. How long will it take?
Well, you're talking about nearly 500 kilometers of pipeline. I've spoken to our general manager operations about an hour and a half ago, and that is when I had the information that the cleaning exercise has been completed. So as I speak now, they're pumping gas into the pipeline, and it takes the pressure to actually push the gas. So we need to get, and the power plants can take the gas at a certain pressure. So we need to, I don't know how long it's going to take, but the information I have is that by 7 p.m., it's very likely that they could start flowing gas to the power plants again.
By 7 p.m. today, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll be monitoring that. We are indeed grateful for your time and all the explanation tonight. That's Dr. Isaac J. Doku, is the General Manager, Corporate Affairs for WAPCO. Well, thankfully, we've also been joined on the phone by Nana Mwesi, Executive Director of Institute of Energy Studies, and of course, Ishmael Ejekumhene, Executive Director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology, also a member of the PRC. We're grateful for your time, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Mr. Ejekumhene. Hearing what you've heard in terms of the explanation, we've heard some statement also from the ECG and GRIDCO on this. Is it time for us to get a schedule, for instance, to know when exactly our lights will be on and when it will be off? Are we considering that at the PRC level?
No, okay, so the issue of load shedding has to come from the utilities, but listening to reading notice that was issued, and also what we just listened the WAPCO rep saying, it does appear that it's going to be a very short-term problem, and in which case, like ECG will always tell you, they need to have a firm idea as to how much power they need to share. If it's to carry on for anything beyond what they are telling us, then there has to be some indication as to which areas are going to go up and which areas are not going to go up. So for now, and what I just said, if, for example, it's true that by 7 p.m. gas will start flowing, then I'm not too sure there will be the need for load shedding timetable.
At least what you're hearing is assuring enough that indeed power be restored soon.
Exactly, because it's quite unusual that when you're doing the pigging, you then will have excessive volumes of debris and liquids. With that, even if the gas is flowing, no IPP, no power plant will accept the gas, because then you're going to cause some significant damages to your equipment. So I think they themselves said more than usual quantity, so it's a bit unusual. But if the cleaning is done, and like you said, as for the cleaning, it's supposed to be a routine thing. What surprised them was the volume of the debris and also the liquids in the gas that they saw at the metering station. So let's go by what they are saying. If by tomorrow they are telling us something differently, then I think it's important that some clarity is provided, and then the distribution companies can also communicate further with the consuming public.
Okay. Well, how about you, Nana Mwesi? From what you're hearing, it does appear that there's no cause for concern. Is that the feeling or the vibe that you get?
Thanks for having me, MFA. I think that what is said that all things being equal, gas supply will be restored by 7 p.m. It's just about 20 minutes away. And so I would say that there is no cause for alarm. Thankfully, we have some liquid fuels available for some key plants like Appiah-Kubi and Send Power. So currently, Send Power is running on one unit. Appiah-Kubi is running on one unit. It may ramp up if gas flow begins. Also, we have the thermal power station up in the last 1 hour, because we are drawing closer to the peak hour. And so all things being equal, things will be normalized, and so there won't be cause for alarm.
Okay, we are grateful. That's some assurances there we're getting, at least from the PRC board member, Ishmael Ejikumhene, Executive Director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment, and then also Nana Moisi, Executive Director of Institute for Energy Studies. We earlier heard from Dr. Isaac J. Doku, who's a General Manager, Corporate Affairs, WAPCO. Some assurances being given that by 7 p.m. tonight, the gas will begin to flow, and then all those IPPs that have shut down definitely will start running again, and your power will be restored, and the complaints that you've been giving at least will go down. Let's head into the election headquarters now.
Election Headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol Platinum Energy, Energizing Dreams, Chopbox Technology, a convenient service, German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental, Wellness and Beauty, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants (CIMA), and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants (AICPA), together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging the gaps for positive youth development. Syntex Tanks, Aya Strong, Aya Tough, Potential Real Estate, your trusted partner in real estate. Deluxy Paints Mu Champion.
And your election headquarters also made possible by McDan Group of Companies and Vena Water. And tensions remain high as the NPP and NDC clash at the Eastern Regional Collation Center, which has been moved here to the Greater Accra region over results from 4 disputed constituencies. That's Fantiakwa North, Akwetia, Suhum, and Insawam. The initial collation was disputed in the Eastern region due to disputes forcing Electoral Commission officials to halt the processes. Well, days of deadlock led the commission to relocate the coalition to the police training camp or the police training center here in Accra under tight security to finalize the result. However, the move has done little to ease those heated exchanges that you're hearing in the background. My colleague James Aveji endured it the entire day. Joins me on the line. James, tell me whether tensions have been calmed now.
Well, MFA, tension has relatively been calm here at the Collation Center, and processes are currently ongoing, but you cannot rule that out completely, because at every point in time where there are challenges with any part of the process, the two parties exchange each argument, heated arguments before they are calmed down by party leaders who are here monitoring the process and allow the Electoral Commission to take the final decision on whatever the argument has been, and then they proceed with that. And so, relatively, there is a calm here as the process is progressing.
Well, we know that 4 constituencies were to be resolved, or they were in contention as we speak. What's exactly the progress on it? Bring us up to speed on that.
So far, 2 out of those 4 have been resolved. The 2 are Akwetia constituency as well as Fantiakwa North constituency. In the case of Akwetia constituency, the NPP candidate, Appiah-Kubi, has been declared winner. And in the case of Fantiakwa North constituency as well, the NPP has won that with some 11,751 votes, was the NDC candidate getting some 11,297 votes, just 456 votes difference. It was over a 2,000 vote difference for the NPP candidate in Akwetia constituency. Currently, Suhum constituency as well as the Sawam Edwin constituency are currently being collated. Chief Whip for the majority side, Frank Nodombre himself, is here monitoring the process keenly together with some party leadership. In fact, the majority leader himself is here and also monitoring the process. So that's how far we've come with the 4 constituency and the constituency.
And even the 2 that you talk about that you've been able to resolve, it does appear that the NDC side is unhappy with the Fantiakwa and Akwetia results.
Exactly. As far as that, the Akwetia specifically is concerned, a member of the NDC, Peter Kwame-Otokuno, has a challenge with that. He feels that the coalition has not been done properly because it was done in the absence of the NDC, for which reason he's raising some objections to that, we can listen to him on what exactly his problem is with that and what they will be doing as far as that is concerned.
It is the numbers that we want to compare and be sure that nobody has posted the elections gone to amend the pink sheets. And so we check the veracity of the pink sheets. Incidentally, Electoral Commission has come that they have made some of their pink sheets, but they are holding some duplicate pink sheets. And the other parties are not having pink sheets at all. They are having photocopies of what seemingly is considered a pink sheet. If the Electoral Commission is having the pink sheet and we do not have, and the NPP is not having, they can use it. If they have a pink sheet and NPP is having and we don't have, we must interrogate, flag that polling station and interrogate whether it is consistent with our entries, the original entries on our computer. If it is consistent, we don't have a problem. We know that we have won the elections. We are confident we have won the elections. And so any attempt to rig the elections will be resisted. And that is why we have sat here since morning trying to collate the results to make sure that we are declared the winners of Nsawam.
How many of the constituencies in the eastern region are you party to in this whole recoalition?
Well, for now, 3. We were invited to come and deal with 3, and so we are here with the 3. The Appiah, the Suhum, and then Nsawam. Unfortunately, Appiah, our people ran a little bit late to declare, and that results declaration is illegal, it's unfounded, it's non-existent, and so the Appiah is still outstanding. Now, the only exercise we are doing here is Suhum and in Nsawam.
And we hope that it is illegal because it didn't go in your favor?
No. It is certainly illegal because you can't have a football match between House and Kotoko. And House will get to the field, the referee is there, and he will say, oh, Kotoko didn't come, so he has blown the whistle, and they played the match, and they have ended. What kind of match is that?
Well, so let's talk about the NPP side. You mentioned earlier that the majority leader himself is there. So what exactly have they been telling you as well?
Well, you heard earlier Otokuno explaining the ground rules and the processes they've agreed on to address the issues. Those are some of the things that were delaying the process. And as far as the majority leader is concerned, he believes that the NDC is intentionally raising some of these issues to delay the process, as they know that they have lost some of these constituencies in contention.
They have actually compiled their results, it's before them, and they are just frustrating the process, delaying the process. They've compiled, they know they've lost. In their own collected figures, they know they've lost. And now they are saying that they cannot find their pink sheets. So they want to rely on the EC pink sheet. When a figure is mentioned, they now go tracing, pretending they don't have the pink sheet. And yet they have compiled their results. I think that the NDC should stop this. It won't help us. This is not democracy. You know you've lost, but you want to just frustrate the process when they've compiled their own results. When we compiled our results and we knew that the presidential results were not in our favor, we conceded. Why would you come here knowing your results, yet you would frustrate the process?
So that's Majority Leader Alexander Fenyo marking there. Well, so we are left with Sun Sahom. What exactly is the headway?
Well, so far, the bigger issues that have been raised have been resolved. For instance, the big issue which delayed the process for about 30 minutes was the fact that the BVD numbers have not been casted on some of the pink sheets, which raised the issues. But the EC took the decision that the BVD numbers cannot, take away the fact that the figures on the pink sheet are not valid. And so they take the decision that if the returning officer in charge of the pink sheet will find the pink sheet, can validate it and actually say that those are the figures he or she write on the pink sheet, they can go ahead with that. And the two parties have agreed on that. And so I foresee a long night if what happened in the last 2 days is something to go by. The results should be collated either late in the evening or would have to come back tomorrow to continue MFR.
Well, I can understand how tiring that process will be. James, but do stay safe out there at the Accra Ghana Police Training Center or Training School here at Tesano in Accra. Well, the Ghana Police Service has announced plans to enhance security in the Ashanti and Bono regions where collation processes remain unresolved. Well, Chief Inspector Priscilla in Nkrumah Pepra at a news conference earlier says this is the best strategy to quell the disputes.
The Ghana Police Service has enhanced security measures for the coalition of 4 outstanding constituencies in the eastern region. The 4 outstanding coalitions have been relocated to the National Police Training School, NPTS, at Accra, Tesano, which is currently ongoing with a fortified security presence of police and the military to ensure the safety and security of the process. One of the constituencies has been successfully completed, leaving 3 which coalition processes are still ongoing as of now. A similar arrangement has been made in the Ashanti and Bono East regions for the remaining coalitions, where the police are waiting for the Electoral Commission to confirm the date for these exercises. The police wish to assure the public that adequate security has been provided to enable Electoral Commission officials to carry out their duties without obstruction.
Well, that's the update from the Ghana Police Service from their press conference earlier today. Well, President-elect John Mahama has assured Ghanaians that his incoming administration will not misuse the overwhelming majority secured by the NDC in the just ended poll. Speaking during a courtesy call by the National Chief Imam, he promised to consult the new patriotic party every step of the way. He dismissed the Supreme Leader tag attributed to him after the massive victory by the NDC.
I wish to assure my father and our fathers that we're not going to misuse the majority we have in Parliament. Even though we have a huge majority, more than 2/3, we're not going to misuse it. We're going to consult with the minority at every stage and make sure that we do things by consensus instead of railroading everybody. Everybody knows that I'm a typical Democrat, and so I believe in George, I believe in consensus building, and I believe in democracy. I've heard some people call me Supreme Leader. I'm not Supreme Leader. I'm going to continue to work the way I've always been as a Democrat, and we'll continue to consult with our colleagues who are in the NPP. We can only move this country together if all of us work to move it together. No one single political party can turn the fortunes of Ghana without the cooperation of everybody else. So I can assure you that we'll work together. We'll continue to consult you. I'm your son, and you all have been very gracious with advice and good counsel. I've enjoyed working with all of you over the years, and nothing is going to change. My doors will be open at any time that any of our leaders, my fathers, want to see me. The door will readily be open for you to come and consult with me. And so we ask that you continue to offer your prayers. The easy part is over, which is the election. Now the difficult part begins. That is bringing Ghana back and restoring it to being the Black Star of Africa. And I wish to assure you that I'll give it my best. This is a legacy term for me, and it will be making a good name for myself before going into political retirement. And so you can count on me working as hard as I can in order that we can move Ghana to the place that it should be.
Well, he continues to express gratitude for the NDC's victory and also confident of success. Well, my colleague Maxwell Agbagba reports that the president-elect has been receiving numerous delegations, including the Chief Imam, the European Union representatives and more. Maxwell, tell us more about how the day has been.
Well, Elsa, it has indeed been a busy day for the president-elect as he engaged with key stakeholders and delegations from various institutions and countries. This morning, he welcomed a delegations from the World Bank, the European Union led by the EU ambassador to Ghana, the Algerian ambassador, the Chinese ambassador, and the National Chief Imam, each accompanied by their respective teams. Now, the Chinese ambassador to Ghana expressed optimism about the future of Ghana-China cooperation under John Mahama's leadership. He talked about the contributions of Chinese nationals in addressing Ghana's challenges and stressed China's commitment to providing robust support. John Mahama told him that Ghana values its relationship with China and will do everything to protect that relationship, MFR.
Well, he also talks about, dealing or commissioning an investigation into circumstances surrounding the killing of some persons during the 2024 elections.
Yes, MFR. He first raised the issue of commissioning an investigation into the killings during an interaction with the EU delegation. Now, he reiterated at that point when the national chief imam visited, and this time he expanded it to include Diaso West Wogon violence and the 8 persons killed during the 2020 elections. Now, these concerns have been central to his campaign, and he says it remains a priority for his incoming administration.
And we're praying that the elections will be peaceful. God has heard our supplications, and we had a peaceful and successful election. Remember the few people who have lost their lives from the reports that we have heard. And this morning, when I spoke to the diplomatic corps, I was urging the current government to begin investigations to find out who were responsible for these deaths so that the law can take its course. Even after we take over, we'll continue these investigations to make sure that tomorrow nobody has the impunity to do the same kind of thing. We know there have been some injustices that were created during the last 8 years. Remember Ayawaso West Wogon. I have always promised that when we come into office, we will take action on Ayawaso West Wogon and provide adequate compensation to those who were injured. We also remember the 8 people who died in 2020. There's been no investigation into their deaths, and their families are still uncompensated. We're going to look at those issues too.
Well, and we've also been hearing from the EU ambassador to Ghana, Ichad Razali, congratulating Professor Nana Ajinopo-Kwadjiman. Please tell me more about it.
Yes, he expressed his excitement about Ghana achieving a historic milestone with its first female vice president. And he said that this is a big accomplishment and feat worth celebrating.
Only to maintain, but even deepen with the incoming administration. But first and foremost, congratulations to you, sir, to the running mate as well, who will be the first female to hold this position of vice president. And we wanted to acknowledge the smooth as well organization and conduct of the election, and wanted to present you with, I would say, the large scope of our partnership.
Well, Sanasi Chad Razali there congratulating Professor Nana Ajinopo-Kwadjiman on her historic achievement as Ghana's first female vice president. George, we'll go for business with George Riafe after speaking to our incoming presidential affairs correspondent, Maxwell Agbagba. When we return, we'll hit the camp of the NPP, and of course we've been hearing from Andy Appiah-Kubi says we should blame the NPP's crushing defeat in the just ended elections on President Akufo-Addo, and also we've been hearing from Matthew Opoku-Prempeh says this is not the outcome we envisaged, and that they accept the defeat amongst others. We'll be hearing plus later in the bulletin how a Ghanaian female medical doctor saved a passenger's life midair on a KLM Accra-bound flight from Amsterdam. We'll get to hear from that doctor. Please do stay. Business with George. Hello, George.
All right, that's an interesting development, and a lot of things happen when you're airborne. And you just have to take the grace of God for you to get to the land safely. Well, in business tonight, government links record third quarter growth estimate to fiscal consolidation commitment as a promise to sustain the momentum, and commercial banks slow to purchase dollar supply as some express concerns about some liquidity issues. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Sinter Stangs, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. You're welcome back to business on Newsnight. Now, government is linking the record third quarter growth estimates to its commitment to checking spending and raising the required revenue. It is therefore promising to institute measures to help sustain this momentum. There is more in the following business text report.
The Ministry of Finance in a statement argued that the growth numbers also showed that government has been able to grow the economy, defying current global challenges and positioning Ghana as one of the most dynamic economies in Africa. It also showed the remarkable performance of the economy during the third quarter of this year. Government is of the view that based on how the economy has performed for the third quarter, Ghana will end the year exceeding the recently revised GDP growth of 4% under the IMF program. It further went ahead to argue that numbers also defy a country that has gone through debt restructuring, which normally grows at modest rate of 1 to 2%. The Ministry of Finance, however, promised that it will continue to implement programs that will help sustain this growth going forward. The Finance Ministry cites programs like the Planting for Food and Jobs, One District, One Factory, and the Ghana Cares Initiative as some of the programs that will ensure that this growth impacts on Ghanaians.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the IMF has revealed that the timely completion of the debt restructuring program will impact on several sectors of the economy. There had been earlier projection that the total debt stock would actually benefit just some sectors of the economy, including the total public debt stock coming down significantly. But the IMF in its staff report maintained that other critical sectors like energy, cocoa, could see some significant improvement, whilst government, as and when government completes all the debt restructuring program for all the sectors in the economy. Now, commercial banks are not buying all the dollars being offered to them by the Bank of Ghana. Now, this is what we have picked up from the markets over the past 2 months. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
Over the past 2 months, checks by Joy Business has shown that most of the banks are not taking up the total amount of dollars that the Bank of Ghana has been supplying for the market. The development raised a lot of questions, especially at a time that most businesses were complaining that they cannot get access to the dollars from the commercial banks. But Joy Business is learning that the current dollar auction program is done in a way that the banks have given up a certain amount of cedis to get the dollars needed. Now, due to several programs by the Bank of Ghana that has reduced the amount of cedis that the commercial banks can hold, that has made it difficult to purchase the required amount of dollars when the Bank of Ghana undertakes the dollar auction program.
And that is a Business Desk report. And if you should turn to these commercial banks in the market, you're likely to get a dollar around 14 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos. Now, the Chamber of Agribusiness has indicated that the sector's current performance can be linked to failed government policy for that area. Now, latest GDP estimates show that the agri sector recorded the lowest growth of 3.2%. Now, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony Morrison, says government must make sure that the agri policies are well targeted.
Obviously, we have been very consistent here as a sector that Planting for Food and Jobs 1 and Planting for Food and Jobs 2 have failed. Both have miserably failed.
How?
Because you can't be implementing a project of this magnitude and your importation bill for food sector keeps increasing. Now, at the time that we did the Planting for Food and Jobs 1, in the second and third year, the total budgetary allocation to that sector was less than 3 billion cedis. Now, if you bring that to dollars, that would be around 200 million or thereabouts, if I'm right. Now, with the advent of the Planting for Food and Jobs 2, which is a PFJ2, we haven't done much in terms of budgetary allocation, okay, which will commensurate with the incremental food importation. At the same time, you realize that government commitment towards its own policies, towards its own programs, have not been very strong.
Anthony Morrison is the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness. And let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you hold of shares of Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited, today it was up by 40 pesos and it's now worth 5 Ghana cedis, 18 pesos. That also of Unilever Ghana is up by 99 pesos and is now worth 17 Ghana cedis, 99 pesos. And MFA tonight on PM Express Business Edition, we're trying to get some understanding of the economic policies of the incoming administration. From January 8th, the NDC government will be taking over as a government to manage the economy. But what are their economic policies in this whole program of resetting the economy? How are they going to do it? How are they going to implement this in these current challenging times? We'll be engaging the former Minister of Finance, Seth Terkper, on PM Express Business Edition at 9 p.m. as we look at resetting Ghana's economy and the incoming administration. What should you be expecting at 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platforms tonight on PM Express for Minister of Finance, Seth Terkper?
We look forward to it. Let's do sports, Musbao.
Yeah, MFO, well, Ghana Black Maidens, they enjoyed a fly start to the WAPCO Under-17 Girls Tournament, which is taking place at Pram Pram Pram, Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. They defeated Benin by 4-1. Well, it was Christiana Ashiaku who managed to get a first half hat-trick to ensure that the Black Maidens got an important victory in the start of that very tournament. It takes them to the top of the group in Group A as they await their second game. Well, let me just bring you some updates ahead of that big game between Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra Heart of Oak at the Barra Sports Stadium on Sunday. Well, head coach of Kotoko, Prosper Ogum, says his team is ready and looking forward to clinching all 3 points come Sunday.
Okay.
The mentality at training with the boys, technical staff, everyone is very positive. We are very poised. Tactically, we are approaching the game based on how we've seen them play, especially in their away games. If you look at games between Kotoko and Hearts of Oak, normally the dynamics are different. So what I want to tell you is that we are very hopeful as a technical staff.
Well, the head coach of Accra Heart of Oak, Abubakar Ouattara, is looking forward to possibly, at the very least, a draw. But if I say he won't lose to Kotoko.
The motivation is my 3 points or to get 1 point to bring it out. And my boys also are very motivated, determined. Kotoko Hearts of Oak is classical. When we are talking about the classical, because of the fans, because of the name, because of the history of the two teams, is big. We are going to deliver.
Yep, we're going to deliver. So, big game on Sunday at the Barra Sports Stadium. You can go there, just try and have some little bit of distraction away from the politics in Ghana.
It's important.
Yeah, very important.
Thank you very much, Musbao. Now, 6-member Commonwealth Observer groups are demanding immediate justice for persons who either died or got injured in the just ended December 7 polls. Well, we know that there were pockets of violence and shooting incidents that led to the death of about 4 persons and several others injured. We're hearing about incidents in Kaswanya, Bala, Damango, amongst others. In a meeting with the IGP, member of the Commonwealth Observer Group and retired Justice of the Court of Appeal in Kenya, Amfrafil Mogoli Masaga, called for swift prosecution of election-related violence.
Have to express that if there is political interference on the other side, that's not a problem. Because you have already done the duty to arrest these people and take the people. Right institution for that. What we look forward to in such a situation is that justice shall be served. For the injured, for those who lost their lives, and for state. Ghana is a very peaceful. At every stage we went, the same one. Of course, the political divide will still be there. That's democracy, I think. And therefore, my only plea, you and the officers, is that let's maintain what you are. The role play. I will only ask one question. How fast cases prosecuted move them to the other side?
The IGP, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, said in order not to sacrifice justice in the face of expediency, there must be a mechanism to prosecuting such matters to ensure justice for the affected.
And we will have wished that the mechanism put in place for handling, say, election-related cases at this currently happening in your jurisdiction, where within a shortest possible time is dreadful. And in our case, I think they have worked on something to ensure that the hearing at the presidential level is also carried out with speed within reasonable context of the law. We would have loved to see that all election-related cases are also treated along the same line. But, Your Excellency, as you are aware, when it comes to the dispensation of justice, we have to also be extremely careful so that in our quest to wanting a speedy trial, we don't also have miscarriage of justice. So where we sit, we will pray that we will continue to work with the investigations and get all the facts and then put it out there. But as the judicial system is, technicalities at times even take longer than addressing the substantive issue, where people have the opportunity to go from the lowest court to all the levels of the Supreme Court, and even at the Supreme Court, they still want to see a review.
That's the IGP, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare. We've heard from President-elect John Mahama mention that he will actually commission investigations into those deaths. But for the swift intervention of a Ghanaian female medical doctor who was on board a KLM Accra-bound flight from Amsterdam, the worst could have happened to a passenger who suddenly developed an emergency and needed medical attention on 11 December 2024. Her swift response, professionalism and calmness in the face of the emergency allayed the fears of many passengers on the flight who panicked after the emergency announcement or call for a doctor was made on the flight. Well, she appeared to be in a very good control of the situation and managed the situation well until the plane landed safely here in Accra. I'm talking about Dr. Joyce Emefa Adokla with Luka Health Medical Center here in East Legon in Accra. Thankfully, she joins us on the line with what exactly happened. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight. I know you're still jet lagged, so we actually appreciate your time with us. But please recount to us how it all unfolded.
Right, thank you so much, MFA. I'm so humbled. And so we were about 4 hours into the flight, Accra bound. We had a meal, so we're just trying to put my son to sleep when the emergency call came through the PA system requesting a doctor to attend to an emergency. At that moment, I looked into my husband's eyes. He also looked in, because he's also a doctor, but he's an ONG specialist. So I was on the aisle end of the seat, so I quickly went to the overhead compartment. I usually travel with my medical equipment. In my school bag, I usually have stethoscope, basic, medical equipment that I'll need, because this is not the first time I've been called to handle a patient on a flight. So I was called and I quickly went to the area where the patient was, and then, as any good doctor would do, I just assessed the situation and I just did a little inquiry. The patient was in a bit of distress. And so the good thing also is the KLM team had an emergency kit on flight. I have to emphasize that was very, very helpful, which had all the emergency drugs you would need, to attend to an emergency. And so everything I needed to work with, I had, and I just had to remain calm because there was a bit of agitation on the flight. And so by God's grace, we were able to bring the situation under control. We moved the patient out of the glare view of the passengers to the business class area and just put a curtain around the patient. And I monitored the patient right through when he became stable. So we were about landing, yes. For the purposes of confidentiality, I wouldn't want to give the patient's name out, but since we sat down, I've been in touch. Again, the patient, I can confidently say the patient is stable.
I can understand that, but how do you remain calm in such a situation, several feet midair?
Right. So, as a doctor, that's what we are taught to do, because in the face of an emergency, you need to remain calm, because that is what helps you think clearly.
But the agitations on the flight by the passengers didn't move you at all?
Well, maybe you can say that is from experience, because we see these things all the time. And so the first thing is to remain calm. If not, if you get agitated, you wouldn't even be able to think through what you have to do. So I think it comes with our practice. You need to remain calm in the face of an emergency, because you as a doctor, if you panic and everyone else on the flight is panicking, your guess is as good as mine.
Well, you mentioned that you had your son and your husband with you, who's also a doctor. Did he at any point help out, or he had to take care of the boy?
So he had to take care of my son while I went up to go and take care of the patient. So he held on, because he's a toddler, and you can just imagine. So he held on to my son while I went to take care of the patient.
Well, I'm wondering, there are some times that you have turbulence amongst others, during these flights. How difficult was it handling a situation midair as compared to doing so while on ground?
Right. So I must confess, though I was calm, I was just praying that with my skill and expertise, I'll be able to stabilize the patient, because there have been instances where patients have died on flight, of course, not under my care, but it happens most of the time. And I mean, all the air hostess do is just wrap the patient to wheeler, because up there is between you and your God. So if you are not fortunate enough to have a doctor to help you when there's an emergency, you just hope the worst doesn't happen to the patient, so you get down. So, like I said, it probably comes from experience. I mean, remaining calm and then handling the situation.
We must say,
we just prayed and then hoped that everything went well whilst we were up there. Right.
Dr. MFA, we are grateful for joining us. You realize that I'm stressing on the MFA because I'm associating with the success at this point. Thank you so much for joining us, and we are so proud of you. We are definitely proud of you from the entire team here. We're definitely proud of you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this evening. That's Dr. Joyce MFA Adokla with the Luka Health Medical Center in East Legon. Her swift intervention saved the life of a passenger midair on the KLM Accra bound flight from Amsterdam. And just before we head out, I've been telling you about Andy Appiah-Kubi, also attributing the defeat of the NPP to President Akufo-Addo. He's been speaking to my colleague Raymond Akwa on Upfront.
The blame will go by extension because he refused to listen to us even when we saw reality and we tried to communicate to him. He wouldn't take anything of that sort. He was too recalcitrant. That is how come we're blaming him. He didn't do enough to help Dr. Bawumia because if you listen to your own MPs, come on, it is not one person who was speaking. We're doing the advocacy for more than 96 members of parliament then. So are you saying that all of us putting reason right? It is not a case that one person was saying something which was uncalled for. We had written our resolution, and because we didn't have opportunity, we wanted to air it for him to hear. And you will not listen to any one of us, all of us put together. So that's how far we can blame him for that. Now, and you see the deterioration started from there.
That's Andy Appiah-Kubi. Unfortunately, he also lost his seat, and this is not the outcome we envisage. That's the words of the NPP vice presidential candidate, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh Napo, and on the party's defeat in Saturday's elections. Well, he acknowledged receiving the message from Ghanaians, adding that the party has begun reflecting on the results and is determined to bounce back stronger. And that's how we end today's edition of Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am MFA Appawu on behalf of the entire team. Many thanks for your company.